Hello and welcome back to part 3 in the series of videos detailing my expedition through Europe. First two parts detailed my trip through Norway, then Denmark. Today, as you can tell by the fact that there's a Volkswagen on the screen, is Germany. If you missed the first two parts, what can I say? You're a terrible human being and you deserve to be shipped to Siberia. We'll find out a little bit more about Siberia later, but today we're going to focus on Germany. Um, Germany was the first stop when once my wife and I boarded the cruise ship during this trip. We boarded the cruise ship in Denmark, did 4 days combined between Norway and Denmark. Boarded a cruise ship. We wanted to do the cruise ship, like I said in the end of the Denmark video, so that we travel while we sleep. So we're not wasting time constantly driving around, taking planes, etc., and using tourism time, using all that up rather than just travel while you sleep. So we thought that was the better option. We used Norwegian Cruise Line, specifically the Norwegian Star, and I'll show some pictures here first before we go into the Germany pictures. So anyways, here's the ship we were on. What a beautiful little ship. Uh, no complaints about this ship whatsoever. The food, the entertainment, the water slides, the nightlife, the day life, the days at sea, everything was fantastic. This was the first time I'd ever been on a cruise ship, and as you can see in this picture, it has the German flag on it. Each day when they went to a new port, they would put that country's flag up on the ship. I don't know. I guess that's somewhat interesting. Anyway, um, we had a package on the ship that we paid for, where you get unlimited drinks, and I drank more on this little 10-day excursion at sea on this ship than I did in my entire life. My liver was like, what the fuck are you doing to me? Oh my God, please stop. And then I would drink some more. And that's the water slides I was on. Anyway, we had a balcony room, of course. Beautiful. It was just nice just to stare out at the sea at some nights or just see the ports that you were pulling into, and words to live by right there. And a lot of buffet foods, a lot of specialty places, but they had these delicious, this was my go-to meal, these vegetarian patties since I'm a vegan pussy. Anyways, Long Island iced teas, watermelon, vegan patties every night. Enough about the goddamn ship. Let's talk about Germany. All right, I mentioned in the end of my Denmark video that Germany had one of the most unique weather conditions in that it was so fucking hot, like in the 90s. And Germany and Europe in general on this trip. Why do you not believe in air conditioning? Like, oh my God, I went to lunch in a restaurant that was so fucking hot, and I know I'm a spoiled ass American that's used to air conditioning all the time, and maybe if I didn't have it all the time, I wouldn't be such a crybaby about it. I get it. But man, oh my God, I was sweating my ass off at lunch one day. But enough about that. The American first world problem complaining shit. Very beautiful country. Hot weather aside, can't blame the country for the fact that it's hot. Blame the ozone layer for deteriorating and all the CFCs. Okay, we're not getting into that. Where to begin here? I know, I'm just kind of like watching the pictures scroll through here. Very, 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 very beautiful country. Just lovely countryside, lovely people. By the way, this was America's gift to Germany after World War II. It was an opera house that got nicknamed Jimmy Carter's Smile. I can see it. Lovely architecture everywhere, and the one unique thing. Oh, by the way, this is Berlin. I don't even know if I clarified this is Berlin we're looking at. Our ship ported in. I forget the name of the city. Sorry, Germany. I forget the name of the city that we ported in. Took a 3-hour train into Berlin. Was the train air conditioned? Of course not. Of course it wasn't. But anyway, took a hot ass steam bath train ride into Berlin and got steam bathed all over again. But Berlin is unique in that you have to realize a lot of this country, and by the way, what you're looking at right here, which is what I found surprising, is there's a monument to the Soviet Union for being the world power that came in and liberated Berlin from the Third Reich and Hitler and everything else after at the end of World War II. So like they're like permanently noted in monument form in Berlin for being the liberated force, which I found kind of interesting because the whole thing with them building the wall right after that around West Berlin. It's like why would they really build a monument for them? But anyways, I found it surprising. This of course is the Brandenburg Gate. Interesting thing, the chariot on the top of the Brandenburg Gate. Our tour guide told us that Napoleon took that for his personal collection at one point. So at the top of the gate, there was just like the horses with no chariot at the top because Napoleon had it at his place. I don't know. He probably fucked whores in it or something. Who knows what he did? He's a crazy guy. But he had a big dick, right? Don't short guys have big? Whatever. Let's get off of Napoleon's dick here, guys. Um, and again, this city's interesting in that you have to realize that West Berlin is basically built up just over the past 10, 15 years for most buildings. I mean, when this whole city was separated by a wall, half the city, I should say, uh, a lot of resources and a lot of businesses were just severed and just left to deteriorate, and everything needed to be rebuilt. And this is the what we're looking at right now. I forget, it's the National Library of Germany. This is the square where Kristallnacht took place. Knocked, I'm probably mispronouncing the shit out of that, where they threw all the books in a pile and Hitler said, "Light them up, boys," and they lit all the forethinkers, the progressive minds, and people that were seen as a threat to the Third Reich were set ablaze. They didn't burn the Bibles. Someone actually asked the tour guide that. It's like, well, did Hitler burn the Bibles? And our tour guide was like, no, they didn't want to risk losing the Christian Nazi supporters at that time. So I found that interesting because I'm sure Hitler wasn't too fond of the Bible. But anyways, that's just my thought of that. Speaking of the Bible, this is the tower, the Soviet-built TV tower in East Germany. Oh my God, I probably said it wrong earlier. East Germany was the portion that the wall was built around. I said West Germany earlier. I know someone probably corrected me already in the comments. But this was called the Curse of the Pope because when the light shines on the top of this dome after the Soviets built it, it forms a crucifix in the way the light hits it. And you can kind of see it in this picture. And so, the Catholic Church and the Soviet Union weren't really getting along at the time, nor are they really to today. So it was seen as the curse of the Pope that they built this big structure and a big crucifix just sits at the top looking over the rest of East Berlin. God, I lost my train of thought here. Anyway, yeah, it was so interesting because like our tour guide is saying how like we would be in a city square. By the way, this is some artwork that was painted on the old Berlin Wall. They brought a bunch of artists in to paint different sections of the Berlin Wall, and this is two communist leaders kissing each other. Ain't that cute? I have no idea what it says on the bottom, by the way. And this says, "He who has the key holds the power." I have no idea what it says, but it probably says something like that. But anyway, um, our tour guide would have us in one of the city squares in East Berlin, and he would say, look around all the buildings around you. Everything you see was built within the last 10 years, just like big, massive structures, shopping centers, etc., etc. And it's like amazing that like half of Berlin has been basically resurrected, revamped, what have you, just in the past 10 to 20 years. An entire urban city, half of it anyway. And those of you that missed it on Twitter, this is Undertaker Freak 1127's car. Found it in Germany. And next coming up is these advertisements are everywhere for something called Heroin Kids. I guess that's a boy, a girl. Your guess is as good as mine. But anyways, these Heroin Kids ads are on like every telephone pole, including this one, whose father must be so proud that his daughter is wearing a "Fuck the Pain Away" shirt in an ad for heroin kids. I don't know. I guess I could just go to that website and find out what the fuck it is. It could be a band for all I know. I don't know. Didn't really think to look into it. But anyways, this was again a very unique city in that half of it has been basically built just in the past 10 to 20 years, but then there was some like rundown portions of the city as well, much like any city. This is the Holocaust Memorial. Um, Huge, massive, abstract art structure. Like these pictures don't really do it justice. Like you have to be there to see it, just to see just these just how massive these concrete pillars are, or whatever they're made out of. And the artist, at least our tour guide said, the artist said, there is no exact meaning. It's that you go to this and you derive your own meaning from it. But and like as this next picture, you're gonna see like you're just looking down certain corridors and it's just like so like overwhelming. Like you could barely see light coming in, and just like the structures all around you. It's like it's intimidating. It's all inspiring. It's everything. It's very, very, very unique. This is Checkpoint Charlie. This is the outpost that the Americans and British had outside in between East and West Berlin, where there's a way to get through from both ends of the cities, but that was the checkpoint. And now Checkpoint Charlie has a KFC on one side of the street and a McDonald's on the other. God bless America, I guess. Anyway, moving along, just closing out here with some final sections of the Berlin Wall. A lot of the sections, the old sections of the Berlin Wall that are still up, are chipped away with because people want to take a piece of history with them. So a lot of these sections that you see, they're picked apart to the wrought iron underneath. But it's like it's interesting to see the walls up close, even still, even though they're picked apart like this, because you get an idea of how massive they are, and you can't exactly just get a step ladder and get over it. Well, on top of that, it wouldn't really matter because guys with machine guns and towers would, shoot you if you tried it. But anyways, yeah, don't got much else to say about Berlin. It was a really good time, really interesting. I'm a history buff and I like shit like that. So that aside, we'll go back here and stare at my favorite meal. Oh my god, that looks so good. I could eat like 10 of them a day and then puke and then eat 10 more. Oh, those veggie patties were so fucking good. So are the Long Island iced teas. Um, Berlin. -1 point for no air conditioning anywhere, but plus a lot of points for just the beauty and just the way everything went. Like I said, I'm a bit of a history buff, so I like seeing the whole history of end of things, and you can only learn so much about a city like Berlin, having only been schooled in the American school system, American colleges, etc., etc. So it was unique here in Berliners' perspective of their city, what exactly happened between them and the Soviet Union, why the wall was put up, and all that good shit. And I don't want to give away all the details because I'll bore you into a coma. In fact, many of you probably are into a coma because we're getting past 13 minutes on this video. So anyways, that's my brief little update of Berlin, the third installment of my series of videos detailing my trip with my wife through Europe. Next up is probably, I'll say, it wasn't my favorite place to visit because my favorite place to visit on this trip, once it was all said and done, was Norway. I would say the most interesting and spectacular place we visited on this trip was Russia. Next time, I'll meet you in St. Petersburg. Till then, das Vedanya. See there, I said it right because we're going into Russia this time. I said that last time going into Germany, and that's Russian, not German. Have a good day, guys.